Good evening. I call to order this meeting of the Gladstone City Council, our last meeting of December 2025. It's Tuesday, December 9th, 6:31 p.m. The City of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body, to the extent reasonably possible, to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during meetings to the extent in-person oral and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. The Zoom instructions are on the agenda for the meeting tonight. If members of the public would like to comment on an agenda item, either virtually or in person, they were to have mailed their comments or the request to speak to the city recorder prior to noon today. Individuals attending in person may submit a speaker card, which are found on the table outside, to the city recorder prior to the beginning of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The City Council will also have Gladstone City event announcements during the meeting and business from the audience not related to agenda items at the end of the meeting. To speak during either time, virtually or in person, please, again, you were to email the city recorder prior to noon today with the name, topic of discussion, and city of residence. Individuals attending in person may submit a speaker card to the city recorder prior to the beginning of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Councilor Huckabee.
Present.
Councilor Mitchell.
Present.
Councilor Blau.
Present.
Councilor Labonte.
Here.
Councilor Corbett.
Present.
Councilor Garlington.
Present.
Mayor Milch.
Present. Please stand for the flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We begin tonight with a presentation on our Tukwila Springs home. And we have special guest Shannon Callahan, Director of Housing and Community Development for Clackamas County. And I hope we can get this right, Tanika Cutsford, Asset Manager for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, who will provide an update on Tukwila Springs. Welcome. Push the button there to get your mics working, and good luck with the display, and Tammy can help you if there's any difficulties.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Shannon Callahan, the Director of Housing and Community Development Division for Clackamas County.
Is your light on?
Push my button. I didn't follow instructions very well, did I? Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Shannon Callahan, the Director of Housing and Community Development for Clackamas County. And I'm joined by Tanika Cutsforth, the Asset Manager for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, which is under the umbrella of Housing and Community Development Division. Wow, just about 1 year ago today, we were here to talk with you about Tukwila Springs, and I'm really pleased to be able to return tonight and talk to you about the operations at the building and talk to you about the changes that we've made and the successes that we've had. Next slide, please, Tanika. For background.
I don't know how to work it.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Up and down.
Up and down. Okay.
Down,
I would have never figured that out.
down arrow.
I'm going to keep going, and we're going to hope the PowerPoint works out. So for background, Tukwila Springs is a housing authority of Clackamas County property. It provides permanent supportive housing for 48 residents. Permanent supportive housing pairs long-term supportive services with long-term rent assistance for really vulnerable residents of the community. Tukwila Springs primarily serves older adults who have experienced or at risk of experiencing homelessness, with a prioritization for Gladstone residents. Next slide, please. So as you may recall, for those of you who were here last year, our goal was to make operational changes to address concerns that our residents were experiencing and we were hearing from the community. Our goal with our operational changes was to build on what was working and to improve what we needed to change. So early on, we conducted an analysis of all building operations to identify the changes that we needed to make. One of the key findings was to strengthen our safety practices. We collaborated closely with the Gladstone Police Department on safety enhancements, including fencing, doors, and looked at entry systems and our own internal building policies. We also worked to strengthen our communication with the police department and implemented required de-escalation training and protocols for our own contracted security team. Our analysis did show that we had a strong service partner with our existing permanent supportive housing partner, NARA. And so we wanted to build on that partnership and make sure that we were providing stability to the existing 48 residents. And NARA was retained as one of our service partners. We intentionally brought in 2 additional service partners. One is Father's Heart, which is a local homeless service agency here in Clackamas County, and the other was Key Property Management. We worked to clarify our communication channels, roles and responsibilities among all the partners, and worked towards setting our goal for a high-functioning building to benefit our residents and the surrounding community. Tanika is briefly going to walk you through the partners and their specific roles within Tukwila Springs. And then I am going to provide you with a high-level overview of what we've seen change in our successes in the last year.
Thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Mayor and councilors, for allowing us the time to share updates on Tukwila Springs. As Shannon mentioned, we brought on a couple of new partners this year, and these next few slides will walk us through those partners and how each contributes to the success of the community. I'll start with the building owners, which is us, the Housing Authority. We hold the overall responsibility for the property. We provide high-level asset management, which includes oversight of financial performance, regulatory compliance, and ensuring tenant stability and satisfaction. A core part of the work is maintaining strong collaboration with our on-site partners. I personally meet with the site team weekly to align on operations, support problem solving, and make sure we're addressing resident needs proactively. Last year, we strengthened our on-site safety by introducing contracted oversight security. The Guard provides active patrols overnight and detailed incident reporting, which property management uses to ensure appropriate and consistent lease enforcement. Next, one of our newest partners is Key Property Services, who now serves as our property management provider. Their role centers on the day-to-day operations of Tukwila Springs, managing occupancy and conducting leasing activities, collecting rents, implementing lease enforcement, and providing routine maintenance and general building operations. You can think of them as the frontline operational team, building on functions and making sure that the building operates smoothly every single day. We also, as Shannon mentioned, continued our partnership with NARA, who provides the permanent supportive housing services on site. Their focus is resident stability and long-term housing retention. They do this through ongoing supportive housing case management, problem solving, and crisis intervention, and helping residents navigate barriers that may impact their housing. Participation in this program is voluntary, so this work is deeply relationship-based. They work hard to build trust with the residents and provide support not only to their housing, but also to their everyday challenges that affect their ability to maintain that housing and just function in the community. And lastly, we've added the new local resident services provider, the Father's Heart. Their focus is on community building through tenant-centered activities, events and activities, and regular engagements. They create meaningful opportunities for connection, healing, and personal growth for the residents. We've already seen a few success stories, and I just want to share those with everyone here today. One of the residents in the last couple of months had their artwork featured at a launch of the Milwaukee Stabilization Center and has since been invited to multiple art gatherings and showcases. Another resident who is currently working on their sobriety is working to start an NA and AA meeting on site to support his neighbors through their own sobriety journeys. And a peer-led journaling group has been formed out of their weekly wellness circle. And these last two, I think, really showcase how, with proper supports, the residents are taking ownership on that community building. The Father's Heart also does coordinate with outside partners to help the residents navigate other challenges they might be facing. This, I think, strengthens the overall support network within the building and the community. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Tanika. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go back and ahead. And there we go. So with the intentionality of the work that we've done with our partners at Tukwila Springs, we're happy to support that we have maintained safe, stable, and secure housing with 95% of our original tenants being retained in housing at Tukwila Springs. We have implemented proactive safety and support strategies that have resulted in reduced calls for service. We've strengthened our role as a good neighbor, including adding new fencing at the request of the neighborhood that has helped reduce foot traffic that really was kind of just passing through, but causing some issues at a neighboring property. We've also, as Tanika mentioned, enhanced our resident services, and we think are really helping promote long-term stability and really a sense of community for our residents. And we've achieved really intentional and effective coordination and collaboration across our service providers, and especially with our law enforcement partners. And all of this truly, honestly, would not have been possible without the support and the guidance and communication with your Gladstone Police Department. We would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the chief and his team for their partnership, their advice, and their service to the residents of Tukwila Springs. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there questions from members of the council? Go ahead, Councilor Garlington.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I think it's really important that the group, your group, stays in touch with our group and maintains what I believe is a really good, oh my gosh, the partnership that we have is just really important to have there. One of the things, though, that I've noticed is that over the years, the word transitional has been taken out and now it's permanent. I have a hard time with that because I've been in those rooms. They're tiny. They're a glorified hotel room. To me, that's not permanent. So I guess I'm not understanding why we're calling that permanent now. It's not an apartment. It's not a. I agree with the community living. I think that that's really important when you live in community. I think that you anyone, you live with people, you learn to live with people, you learn team skills, things like that. I believe that's really important. But I also think I don't see that as being a permanent solution for people. I think that they're small. And I've always agreed with the word transitional, but I don't know that I agree with the word permanent. I think that, quite frankly, when they talk about all of the building that they do in and around Clackamas County for more permanent, stable housing, that's where people should be transitioning to. I don't see that there. I know some of the people that live there, and I think that that's an awful small space to keep them in. And that's what I believe is that I think that needs to be talked about a little bit more. Is do you see yourself moving into someplace a little bit bigger, a place that's a larger community, that kind of thing, and not just that small space?
Councilor, thank you for that question and your observations. It is essentially a version of a single room occupancy building. And so folks have their own rooms, bathrooms, but they have shared common areas and kitchens. And we have found that intentional space where folks are coming out of their room to engage with the community, to cook their meals is really helpful, especially for some populations that have been living in isolation or not been housed for many, many years. We use the word permanent to mean you have a permanent home there, and you are permanently housed. Transitional in the generally in an affordable housing world means you only have a limited time duration in that space. So for as long as someone wants to be in that space, they can call Tukwila Springs home. And as long as, of course, they're a good neighbor, and we work really hard to make sure that they are a good neighbor. The folks that live at Tukwila Springs also receive rent assistance through a HUD voucher. And after 1 year, they are eligible to move if we have vouchers available and open in the market, meaning we're always attaching that rent assistance to Tukwila to make sure that unit stays. But as long as we have another open voucher, folks can move to other locations of their choice. Right now, I will be honest with you, we don't have available vouchers from the federal government. We have, we're facing funding restrictions at the federal level. But if they do open up on occasion, and if someone does want to move and Tukwila Springs isn't the right place for their permanent journey, we support them to moving to another unit. And so for some folks, I would like to say we had that availability right now, but we don't. But that is their option and right once we have vouchers available. For many folks, this is their permanent home, and unfortunately, will be the place that they spend the rest of their life in comfort and warmth with food and community. But I do agree with you. I think we should have other options available. And Tukwila Springs is not for everybody, and for everybody's journey.
And I hear you. I do hear you. I can understand why some people would feel safer in that smaller of a community rather in a 6-story high rise somewhere. So I do get that. Thank you for that explanation also. And then the other part of that is the NAYA and the is it NARA?
Yes.
NARA.
Native American. Yeah. How many Native Americans are living in that space now?
Thank you. I should have that stat handy. If I remember correctly, it's over 45%.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I identify as Native American. And so NARA serves everyone in the community. Of course, their original focus was on the Native American community, and they provide a wonderful case management and connection to any type of rehabilitation services that may be needed, as well as other things.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Council Blau, I think you have a question.
Yeah, you said most of your residents are elderly. What kind of medical support and just living support is available there? Like if they progress past a point where they can take care of themselves, and like how does that transition handled?
That is one of the things, thank you, Counselor, that is one of the things I think we struggle with in all of our housing communities is folks aging and being able to address their medical needs and being able to age in place. We are not a assisted living facility. There is a shortage and a dearth of assisted living facilities, especially for those folks who make little to no income. What we do when we have a situation where we or a resident feels that they need a higher level of care is we have what's called a case conferencing team that involves our internal Clackamas County staff as well as providers in the health community. And with the permission of the resident, we bring a team together to kind of what we call case conferencing, and we talk through what options there may be, whether that be an adult group living home or other type of environment. And then we work very hard, if that's the chosen path of the resident, to move that into that environment, space willing. I think one of the challenges, though, is oftentimes we as a housing provider or a service provider may feel that someone needs a higher level of care, but that individual is not seeking that individual at that level of care. So those are conversations that our service providers have, but we do and have had our residents move to other types of housing placements that can better meet their needs.
I'd actually like to piggyback on that from what Shannon just shared, and that's that NARA, as that housing case management, works very closely with the residents to help them seek their own independent care. They have a vehicle on site and provide transportation. They provide encouragement and support. Go to those appointments and advocate for those residents. That's part of that permanent supportive aspect of this housing.
You've mentioned a couple times that services are voluntary and that people, have to make a choice. One of the things that sometimes we in the public read about people who are coming out of homelessness is that they refuse to be served, to get some of the help that the government tries to make available to them. How would you assess your level of voluntary compliance, or not even, that isn't even the right word, but the level of people's willingness to receive and benefit from these services at Tukwila?
Mayor, thank you for that question. What I will say is the services are voluntary. We do, under the supportive housing services measure, more recently require at least one meeting with your case manager every month, just to ensure that contact is being made. I think that folks working with their case management team and resident services team is all about relationships and where that resident is on their individual journey. But we do find that folks will engage with their service providers. They're there with them weekly, daily. They get to know them on a deep level. Many of these folks actually worked with Father's Heart when they lived on the street, and Father's Heart was actually the original agency that helped do the outreach to bring them into Tukwila Springs throughout the years. So it's really about relationships and trust. And then, our job, though, is to make sure that that those folks have what they need to be good residents. If they're not able of living in a community with other residents, we work really, really hard to make sure they stay housed. But for some reason, if they're truly not engaging in services and they're not a safe member for the rest of the community, that's when we would ask them to not be a part of that community anymore through our technical legal routes. But we find that most people do engage. It may just take some time, and it depends on, frankly, the level of trauma that they've experienced and how long they've been out on the streets and what other medical or disabling conditions they may have.
And it's hard for us who have not been in that place to understand that. But I'm glad to hear the emphasis on trust and developing relationships, and that the fact that they've had relationships in the past with some of the agencies and community groups that are seeking to provide support helps enable that to happen. So that's good news to hear. Thank you. Councillor Labonte.
I guess two questions, and thank you for visiting Gladstone City Hall here. Question one, do we know offhand what is the square footage for the rooms?
It's a great question. It is right around 400 square feet. 400
feet, okay. So not necessarily too different from some of our ADU rules that we have in the city as far as living space. Now, and you had mentioned the federal funding being kind of an issue. I understand that the funds from the continuum of care support programs have to be reevaluated in a little bit of a different way for local agencies. I know that process is happening even next week, I think, in part in the county. What is this project at all affected by that? And what types of issues, maybe higher level, would you see the funding kind of coming up in our community?
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Counselor. This building is funded with vouchers from HUD, Housing and Urban Development. And they provide the long-term rent support for all the residents. The supportive housing services and other services are provided from the supportive housing services measure, which is a metro local taxation measure. We are unclear as to what our ultimate budget as a housing authority will be because the federal government has yet to pass their federal budget. We have some estimations on what may happen. We are hoping we stay flat, which is a cut because our cost increase. So staying flat just means we're having to find measures, but we don't anticipate at this moment in time that means any impacts for any of our community members that we have housed. We will take cuts from somewhere else. And it just means we won't be able to bring folks on to our voucher rolls. The continuum of care funding is also HUD funding. It is the long-standing funding for homeless and housing services funding from the federal government. It is what Clackamas relied on exclusively prior to the SHS measure. As I said, it put $7 million in our community in a variety of programs. Father's Heart is has been a recipient of some of those. Clackamas Women's Services is a recipient. Our own social services division at the County of Clackamas helps support eviction prevention and rapid rehousing. And the federal government had announced kind of sweeping changes to the continuum of care with a very short timeline for application. But yesterday they withdrew that and they have said, well, we don't know. They've said no funding application is on the street. And so we don't know what that means yet because our funding will run out in June of next year for ourselves and community partners. We're hoping that is a positive, but we're not sure. So what I can tell you is we're just trying to rapidly address the changes as they are coming, and they're coming rather quickly. And so it's just kind of that there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councillor Huckabee.
Thank you. I'm curious, do we see any level of engagement from residents' families?
Yes, but I would say it's probably minimal. Yeah.
Councillor Mitchell.
I don't mean to bring us back in the conversation or make you repeat yourself, but could you repeat how many residents you serve?
The building itself has 48 residential units and they're single room occupancy. So we serve 48 households and individuals.
So not to get all personal, but I used to work there before it became Tooele. So I'm trying to visualize the rooms based on what they were. So when you say it was 400 square feet, are they roughly the same as what they were?
Yes, and I might have misspoke. It might be closer to 300.
Okay, and so now they are individual?
The other individual rooms, they
Okay.
have a kitchenette with a small fridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps me
and a
visualize it
bathroom.
better. I realize not everyone has that experience, but it helps
Sure.
me personally visualize it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The main cooking facility, though, is in a large community kitchen area.
Yeah, there were substantial renovations done to the building when it transitioned to this function, and again, it was designed to be more like a single room occupancy, which was a form of housing that existed widely in this country up until soon after the post-war years or into the 60s and 70s, and it was a reason we did not have nearly the level of homelessness that we have now because there were these lower cost options for people. It didn't offer all the same benefits of a single family home, certainly, or even apartment type living, but for the lowest income members of the population, it was an option. And I'm glad that we're looking to something similar to that to be able to provide for those who are at the very lowest level of income. So are there other questions or comments? We appreciate you both being here, giving us this update. We were the first community in Clackamas County to have a Metro-supported housing facility. And, we've been through this. Those of us here who were on the council earlier, remember there were some growing pains at the beginning, but it's good to get these updates to see the progress that's being made, to see how you're learning from, opportunities that could present a better way of doing things. And I'm glad that you have support services, management services seeming to get along well, and that you're reaching out, involving our community, our law enforcement agencies. So we're grateful to you for the time tonight and for getting us updated on this. Thank you. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda that's printed?
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll share a little bit about what's on our agenda tonight. We start with our consent agenda, and it includes 8 items. Approval of the November 12th, 2025 regular minutes, approval of October bank balances, the budget report for the period ending 10/31/25, approval of October check register, legal costs for the month of October, department head monthly reports for November 2025, certification of the November 4th, 2025 election results, and approval of an amendment for an intergovernmental agreement between the Water Environmental Services, WES, and the partner communities for regional inflow and infiltration, INI reduction. So those 8 items on our consent agenda. Does any member of the council wish to pull any item from that consent agenda? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, it's moved by Councillor Huckabee and seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is that correct? Okay. All right, Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes.
Counselor Labonte,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. As of the time of the printing of the agenda, we had no correspondence. Any additional correspondence come in for us to deal with tonight?
Nothing. Thank you.
Okay, so we move to Gladstone City events announcements. Has anyone asked to present announcements of any city events?
I have not received any requests.
Okay, all right, we'll move beyond that then. And our regular agenda item includes, our regular agenda includes about 4 different items. A report on the historic Trolley Trail Bridge project, a resolution 1251 adopting a revised master fee schedule, utility rate adjustments for water, sewer, storm, and design review fees. Resolution 1253 is for creation of an economic development ad hoc committee. And then we have appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. So we will begin with item 10, Historic Trolley Trail Bridge Project, and I'll turn this over to City Administrator Jackie Betts for a staff report and introductions.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before I hand this over to our consultant with David Evans and Associates and Joel, who's with Clackamas County, I want to give you just a brief history of how we got to where we are tonight. This is almost a project 10 years in the making. Back in 2017, the city received some federal transportation funds from Metro to study the feasibility of rebuilding the collapsed Trolley Trail Bridge across the Clackamas River. This was a key pedestrian and bicycle link. Because Gladstone is not a certified agency, Clackamas County carried out the study under the local agency certification program with authority from ODOT. Then in 2020, a design concept report was completed with the help of David Evans and Associate. This process included an extensive public outreach and resulted in 3 options for the bridge: a 3-span precast concrete girder, a 3-span steel girder,
and a single span steel truss. We will talk about what all of those mean as we go through the presentation. However, in 2020, we realized that the single span steel truss option was deemed infeasible. So we proceeded with the first two options. In 2020, we were also awarded an additional $1.23 million from the federal transportation funds to further the environmental and engineering phase. And then the pandemic happened and everything was put on pause. Last year, Clackamas County and the City Council approved an IGA with David Evans to complete that work. So beginning in 2025, we started finishing the engineering and design phase, and tonight we're here to update you on that and to have council tell us to move forward because, as you know, we were just recently awarded the actual construction funds to build the trolley trail bridge. So that gives you a little bit of background. Now I'm going to hand it over to Joel with Clackamas County, and him and Doug have a brief presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Joel Howie. I'm with Clackamas County's Department of Transportation and Development. I'm going to share my screen here and I'll do a quick overview before I hand it off to Doug Johnson, who will introduce himself. So here's just a picture of the old trolley trail bridge. And this is a map of the area and potential connections. Not sure if you can see my cursor, but this is the existing trolley trail. Portland Avenue's here, Clackamas Avenue's here. The new bridge would be in the same similar horizontal alignment as the old trolley trail bridge, crossing the Clackamas River here. This is the Clackamas River Greenway Trail here. This is Tri-Cities water treatment plant owned by Water Environment Services. This is the existing 82nd Drive pedestrian bridge that was seismically retrofitted a few years ago. This is McLaughlin Avenue. This shows McLaughlin as having bike lanes across the Clackamas River, but the bridge itself does not have bike lanes, but it does have sidewalks on it where people typically ride their bikes on the sidewalk rather than driving in the travel lanes. This is the specific project area. This is kind of the center line of the proposed bridge. There are some power lines that are here. I'll have a couple of pictures here, but access to the site will come from, for construction, will come from Clackamas Boulevard and Portland Avenue, but the large superstructure items, the girders, steel girders, we're planning for a staging area down here, and then access through the Water Environment Services property here to Agnes Avenue. And there's about 550 feet of that's a roadway berm right now. And then this is the main area for where the bridge will be constructed. It's much wider than what the actual bridge will be. We're planning a temporary construction bridge that will partially span the Clackamas River. Here's a picture of from the view of Portland Avenue, pretty much from the fence line that exists here now. This is the view of the north bank from the south bank. You can kind of see the power lines here. This is where the bridge would be located. This is the water intake structure serving City of Tigard and Lake Oswego. This is a picture of the south bank. And then this is kind of the landing area of where the bridge would land, and here kind of matching up. The path would extend to the path that's here on the Greenway Trail. And then Doug, you want to take it over, talk about the alternatives?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be here to talk about this project that, as has been mentioned, has been in the works for some time, and it's exciting to see it moving forward. It was mentioned a little bit earlier about the different alternatives that were under consideration. Three-span pre-stressed concrete girder bridge being alternative one. And then for the steel alternative, we decided to change it to a two-span steel girder bridge because there's definitely some advantages to having a two-span bridge instead of a three-span bridge. So go ahead there.
Let me interrupt for a second. Could you just explain the difference between, when you talk about a two-span versus a three-span, what is that? What is the difference of that in terms of how much of the structure of the bridge goes into the riverbed?
Yeah, with you'll see it on one of the upcoming slides, but with a two-span bridge, there would be one pier in the channel. With the three-span bridge, there'd be two piers in the water. So that's the difference, really.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So this is the cross-section of the two alternatives that we looked at, the concrete girder option on the top and the steel girder option on the bottom. We are planning to have a 16-foot wide bridge from curb to curb. That's definitely adequate for pedestrians, also adequate for emergency vehicles to cross the bridge. And that was one of the considerations in the design to allow for emergency vehicles. We did early on receive a loading for I believe it was a fire department squad vehicle, which was 12 tons. And that's what we have been working with up to now. I have heard some interest in possibly allowing for heavier vehicles. I think they could be accommodated without too much difficulty. There would obviously be a little bit more cost involved, as the girders would have to be a little bit heavier, but relatively small if that's relatively small difference if that is something that is desired.
Doug, I'm going to jump in and just clarify that emergency vehicle response is not just got to take a call and get over the river to the other side. This is if there was a catastrophic event and we needed to allow access for emergency vehicles.
Yes, it would not. We don't anticipate it would be a very frequent occurrence for emergency vehicles to use it. It'd just be like an earthquake or some other disaster. It would provide another way across the river if the other bridges are not usable in the area.
What, if I can ask a question, what preventative measures are in place to ensure that the average citizen doesn't cross the bridge with their vehicle?
There would, I think on the Gladstone side, we would put in some bollards that would allow bicycles and pedestrians to pass. But they would be removable bollards with a key that emergency vehicles would be able to remove and access it that way.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the three-span option right here. Total length of the bridge is about 366 feet. We see the work bridge down below in the diagonal crosshatch. That would be used for construction equipment to get out and construct those piers that are in the water. And that would be a temporary access bridge. fairly substantial because of the weight of the construction equipment. But that would all be removed when construction is done, and that would just allow for the temporary use of the construction equipment. The one thing that you can notice is that the Gladstone side is higher in elevation than the Oregon City side. So if you look over on the right on that elevation view, we actually are building up the existing ground by about 6 feet or so to meet the end of the bridge. And then that trail would come down to meet the existing trail at a grade just under 5%. 5% is the maximum grade that's allowed for ADA. It's kind of a balancing act to maintain the clearance above the desired flood elevation. We have a 100-year flood elevation that we've cleared with this design, but just barely. And it's kind of a balancing act to bring the bridge grade down, bring the path grade down off the end of the bridge to meet the existing path, which is it's not shown here, but it would be just off to the right from that where that curve starts. Another 50 feet or so is where it would come down and meet the existing path that's down there. So there was kind of a balancing act, as I said, because we're limited with that 5% grade and wanting to meet the existing path and clear the 100-year flood elevation. The bridge piers in the water would consist of drilled shafts that would go down fairly deep below any depth of scour that might occur. We calculate what the scour depths are, and then we go well beyond that and make sure that the bridge is going to withstand any sort of a flood event structurally. And then the end vents, or the abutments on each end, those would be supported on steel piles. I think you can go on to the next one. This is just a rendering of what that bridge would look like. You can kind of see this is from Oregon City looking across the river towards Gladstone. And you can kind of see that mounded earth on the end of the bridge there as we're building up the path and then coming down to meet the existing river trail there. Okay, go ahead. And then this is the steel girder bridge. We have unequal spans here. It's kind of advantageous to keep that pier a little bit more to the south. The actual deepest part of the channel is towards the Gladstone side, so we're kind of avoiding that by moving that pier over. And also the underlying rock is it's a little bit more unpredictable as you get towards Gladstone because there's a steep drop off in the underlying bedrock. So there's just some advantages to having that pier a little bit offset from the center of the river. And that also allows the work bridge to be a little bit shorter, which saves some cost. Okay, go ahead. And then this is a rendering of the steel bridge, pretty similar. This rendering was done when we still had the 3-span in mind. If you could imagine, one of those vents would be taken out and we would just have one vent in the water. Go ahead. So comparing the different alternatives, the permitting agencies, there's listed endangered species fish. So there are quite a few environmental requirements that we have to meet. The agencies generally prefer to have less in the water, less new construction. So having one vent versus 2 is preferable. I think we can actually permit either one, but we might have to jump through a few more hoops with a 3-span. Construction duration is an issue when it comes to working in the water, because we're only allowed to work in the water from July 15th through the end of August. So a month and a half in the water doesn't give us very much time. And if we have to build 2 vents in the water, it's kind of doubtful if we can get that done in one construction season. So that's another advantage to having only 1 vent in the water. Yeah, construction is definitely easier with 2 spans than 3. Future maintenance costs, there's potentially a little bit more of a maintenance cost associated with the steel than the concrete. Primarily, the need for more frequent and close-up inspection of steel bridges versus concrete bridges, particularly since we only have 2 girders. However, the frequency of the inspection is not set in stone by law as it is for highway bridges when it comes to a pedestrian bridge. So there is some discretion there in how those inspections are done. That's probably not a huge difference in maintenance costs. You would want to do inspections on a periodic basis, perhaps every 4 years to begin with when the bridge is new. But that's just something to consider. And then construction costs are compared there, and the steel bridge comes in cheaper because of the only 1 vent that has to be constructed. The steel girders and the rest of the superstructure would be a little bit more expensive, but that's overcome by the elimination of the vent with the 2-span option. And I think that's the end of the presentation. Oh, here's next steps. Yeah, as Joel mentioned, we're working on our preliminary design, hoping to wrap that up this summer. We have to go do some borings out in the water. We're trying to get that permitted right now. Then once that's done and approved, we'll move on to the final design, which that'll run through late 2027 and then hopefully begin construction in 2028.
Doug, let me ask you one thing. You mentioned the need for inspections, and I assume that if you inspect something and find something, there is a need for response to whatever you find. So that's part of the overall ongoing maintenance of this bridge. We've talked about the funding for getting it constructed, but once it's constructed, it will be the responsibility of the city of Gladstone to maintain it as we do other surfaces for pedestrians and bicycles. And it would not be an ODOT facility. It would be a city facility. I want some clarification on how that works.
That is correct. It will become part of an asset for the city of Gladstone.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions from councilors? Councilor Blaug.
So one of the questions that I had was, I noticed that there's not a very large amount of clearance between the flood zone of the Clackamas and the bridge itself. Have you consulted with, I believe it's the Clackamas County Sheriff that runs rescue boats up and down there? And what do they have to say about, the possibility of 100-year floods, meaning that they wouldn't be able to get to the Clackamas River on the other side of this bridge?
Yeah, we haven't. I don't believe we've consulted with the Sheriff's Rescue Group on that. I will say, the 100-year flood by definition is a rare event. Once every 100 years. That's the elevation there of that is some more than 20 feet above the normal high elevation. That line down below is the ordinary high water. That's generally what you might say the high water in a normal year. So, you're talking about quite an extreme event when it gets up to that elevation. But just given the constraints of the site, it would be difficult to raise the bridge to provide more clearance for in a 100-year event like that.
I think it's pretty important that we at least have a conversation with them so that there's some plan, because it seems like, I can imagine being able to access the Clackamas River in a 100-year event might be really important. So that's I would like to circle back to that and just make sure that we have some input from them and that maybe there's a plan to address that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good comment.
Council.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to add to the conversation only because I was here during the last big flood and the water was kissing the bottom of the 205 bridge. I can't imagine knowing how fast that water was moving and how hard it was moving that anyone would get out onto the Clackamas, possibly the Willamette, that I just can't. I mean, they had houses falling apart coming down the river. It was an incredible thing to see. So I'm not as concerned about that as I am, because I didn't read on there is how much higher or lower is this bridge than the 205 span? Would it be?
I think this is lower, but I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Are you referring to the McLaughlin Bridge or the 82nd Drive Bridge?
The I-205 bridge.
The Abernethy Bridge.
And so the Abernathy Bridge is more on the Willamette. There is some backwater that is experienced on the Clackamas River as at the confluence with the Willamette River, which is part of the FEMA 100-year floodplain study and is part of David Evans Associates review or river hydraulics review of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, this 100-year flood elevation that you see there, that comes from a backwater event from the Willamette.
Okay.
The 100-year flood on the Clackamas River is several feet below that.
And an interesting detail I found out tonight too is that the U.S. Coast Guard does not determine the Clackamas as a navigable waterway. So it might during this event of that as well. So
yeah, that's correct, and that's one reason why we kind of put the bridge where we did, because we didn't have any concern about meeting Coast Guard navigation requirements.
Councilor Labonte.
Sure. And thank you for your presentation. I always find it interesting that our rivers are affected by titles here. So it's interesting to know that the high tides affect our rivers here. It's just we're kind of coastal in that sense. But that's not really my question. My question is that temporary bridge. Of course, if we're doing the construction in the summertime, which is a must, really two questions. What are the odds that we would get, let's say, the 2-span done in that season? And also the temporary bridge, the lower Clackamas in general is, popular for recreation. It's a big deal for our county and certainly for our town. How does that temporary bridge impact, or does it at all, some of the recreational paddle boarders, kayakers, you name it, going through there?
Yeah, what we anticipate is the temporary bridge would be done one season, and it would remain over the winter, because that's probably all we can get done in one season, given the limited time frame that we're allowed to work in there. And then we'd come back the second season and put in the pier itself. And then as far as impacts on the recreational traffic, that area where the work bridge is being constructed would have to be kind of marked off to prevent recreational kayakers and whatnot from wandering into that area. There would I'm sure be buoys and some sort of marker system to keep people out of that area. They would still be able to use the rest of the river, but they'd be limited over to that side.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and that would be you'd say it'd probably be 2 seasons to finish this job?
That'd be 2 seasons, and maybe even a 3rd season before they could get out there and remove it, because again, it's so limited in the time that you have to work out there.
So we'll have this temporary bridge at least there for 3 years?
Probably 3 years, yeah.
We would have a minimum requirement of the low chord of the work bridge, probably at least at the 25-year flood event, to minimize potential for it being flooded out.
Okay, and I just want, so that temporary bridge, kayakers will end up kind of you're in the river, you're getting pushed around by currents. And it would be, we have temporary bridges. Is there issues with recreation and safety, I guess is my concern there, in your experience?
So other bridges that Clackamas County has done, like the Springwater Bridge that was over the Clackamas River, the sheriff's office had us put a 40-foot window under the work bridge to make sure there was adequate clearance to go under there. The sheriff's office in this case, because of the main channel still being open, they might just say just mark it and then have buoys out in the river so you push people to go over to the other channel. But that is something that we'll definitely discuss with them and get their input.
Great, thank you.
Any additional questions? Councilor Mitchell.
So I'm not sure entirely who might be able to answer this question. Did we test what brought down the original collapse back in 2014? By any chance?
So I think mainly in a high water event, the Union Pacific did pull the superstructure off the actual foundations and pulled that main span bridge off. Not sure, they probably should have gotten permits to do that, but it was I think they just blamed the high water, saying the high water is potentially going to hit the low chord of the bridge, and they just want to be able to take it down under their control.
Okay.
I think just to add to that, the old trolley bridge there, I believe it did not have deep foundations that went far enough down. So when the high water event happened and it scoured around the existing pier, then the existing pier started to collapse, and then that's when the railroad had to come in and remove the bridge because it was being undermined. But it's because they didn't have the deep foundations supporting the bridge back when that was built.
Okay, and then now that we have the technology and we're using it for a lighter load, we'll be able to. It should last us more than 100 years this time. So is what I'm going for.
Definitely designed for that scenario. Make sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's covered. Yeah.
All right. We have a resident who I think may offer a little bit of more information about that. John, you want to come forward? John Kilstrom. Push that button.
John Kilstrom, resident, Gladstone. One of the contributing factors to it was when they built that west water facility. They put that there, that changed the water flow going around and pushed that current to that side, which then scoured out the thing. So that west facility contributed to it. from what I saw.
It's not the kind of circumstances that we would see with a newly well-constructed bridge. This
No.
was something that took down a bridge that had not been maintained and it wasn't even really complete for many of the years it was
Right,
there.
but that contributed to it. So as long as they put the pilings down deep enough to avoid that scouring out because of the way that
Yeah.
water flow gets changed.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions from counselors? Now, Administrator Betts, I'll turn it back over to you. What is staff recommending that we do on this? It looks like there's a choice here, and the superstructure costs are a little bit different, but the pilings that go into the river are also a different cost. What kind of help is going to help us come in under budget and meet other needs?
Yeah, we are recommending the two-span steel girder bridge, and you don't have to vote on it. It's just kind of a consensus. This is what the city is going to be able to build with the money that we will be receiving from Metro, and given all of the elements that you heard tonight. So this is really just the next step. We wanted to check in with you to say, here is the preferred option. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Not also to mention that we'll have to bring another intergovernmental agreement before you in the next couple of years when Metro officially awards us the funding from their 2028 budget. So by a nod of your heads, if you're agreeing with the two-span steel girder bridge, that's really what we were looking for tonight.
Okay. So am I seeing heads nod? I am. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Labonte.
May I kindly ask Jackie for just some clarification of the funding for this bridge? So what is the responsibility from Gladstone and from these other agencies? What is the?
Yeah, so we have received federal funding for the entire project, but we have a 10% match. So back in 2017, it was about 200,000 that the city had to match, which came from street maintenance. I believe in 2020, where we are now, it's $140,000 match, and that is currently in our administration budget. But the almost $3 million that we've already received is federal funds, and $8.9 million in construction funds is what the council will be considering to accept for the construction in 2028.
So as far accept, can you just explain that to me? So to accept from our.
We have to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Metro to accept the funds and use the funds for construction of the bridge.
Thank you. Yes.
And just looking ahead a little bit, our match portion from that will come from a combination of urban renewal funds, system development charges, and street and maintenance funds.
So, and I mean, I don't think that this would be presented to us if there was a huge risk of it bankrupting us or being a giant.
I would not recommend that we do this project if it was not being funded by Metro federal transportation dollars.
Very good. Thank you.
Some of you may recall that back in 2020, Metro had a transportation bond for the region that right near in the first year of the pandemic, and some projects in the Gladstone area were included on that. Some of the upgrades to Portland Avenue, and I don't know if this bridge would have been part of that, but that did not pass. And so we've gone through this slightly different process to get a different source of funding from the same agency, from Metro, but through a little different route.
Yeah, and our application was supported by all of the cities in Clackamas County, and very envious that we were awarded the money for this project, but we would not be able to do it unless we were receiving grant funds for it.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Garlington.
One little question, maintenance funding?
Yeah, that will have to be in future budgets. Probably what we will do as we get closer to construction and public works is have an estimate on inspection for the bridge, maybe every 4 to 5 years, and we will include that into our facilities budget in the future.
Okay, well, I saw the heads nodding. I believe we have a consensus to go with staff recommendation for advancing the preferred design, a two-span steel girder bridge. I want to thank Joel and Doug for coming tonight and answering our questions and giving us a clear presentation on this, and to Administrator Betts as well. And so we will look forward to the next step on this. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we move to item 11. Judy Anderson-Smith, our finance manager, is here to help us on Resolution 1251, a resolution repealing Resolution 1247 and adopting a revised master fee schedule effective January 1st, 2026. This is something we do a couple times a year, and I'll have staff present for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'm also going to give you a little bit of background, more for the public, knowledge on that. And if you have questions, then Judy can answer the financial aspects of that. We update our master fee schedule twice a year in July and December. And tonight, as you can see in the staff report, there are utility rate increases for water, sewer, and storm. There is a right-of-way minimum charge that includes our standard 3% annual increase. And we're requesting a change in our planning fee schedule that has to do with design review applications. And then also Public Works would like to add a fee in dig-in fees. And just to remind everybody is that we can't charge for a service unless it is included in our master fee schedule. So what I'd like to do is start with talking about the planning fee. If you have any questions on the right-of-way and the Public Works, and before we get into the utility rate discussion. As you know, we have a consultant that does our planning work, and she reviewed our design review applications this past year and discovered that she's actually putting in more time than what the applicant is paying for that. And so that is the reason why we are recommending that increase happen. The minimum cost right now for a design review is between $1,340 with a maximum of $36,835. But as you can see in the staff report, she is saying that it's averaging at least $2,000, or she's recommending that we increase it to $2,000 so that we're covering our costs. And the city shouldn't be subsidizing development. So if somebody wants to come in and do a design review, that would be their application fee. As I mentioned, the right-of-way includes the standard 3% annual increase for our right-of-way charges. And then also Public Works is adding a dig-in fee to the master fee schedule. And that has to do with a water main tap and a service line installation, which includes some specifics of how many feet for a service line, labor, and materials in there. So what I wanted to talk about is the utility bills, because there's been a lot of discussion about why does the city raise the rates? Where does the money go? And so I want to provide a little bit of history because we actually have been working on this since 2018. And I also want to start by, you've seen how much rain we've had these past couple of days. We have not had any flooding in our system. In fact, we haven't had any flooding since 2021 when we actually started investing in our system. So I want to say that the city of Gladstone has committed to reversing decades of underinvestment in its utility infrastructure. Since 2018, incremental rate adjustments have provided sustainable funding for critical projects, ensuring reliable service, compliance with environmental standards, and protection of public health. I can remember when we were raising rates at 10 to 12%. Today, the rates rise only 3% annual to keep pace with inflation. And actually, the 3% that we are proposing tonight is under the inflation. This modest increase safeguards daily operations, prevents costly emergencies, and supports long-term community vitality. So to give you some history, several years ago, Gladstone's utility systems faced declining integrity due to minimal investment and stagnant rates. Master plans identified millions of dollars in needed projects, but funding lagged behind inflation. DEQ came in and entered the city into a mandate because of the sewer overflows that we were having in the rivers. So we were ordered to start fixing our infrastructure. The city council adopted a proactive strategy of steady, predictable rate increases that avoid the sudden financial shocks while ensuring infrastructure resilience. So the utility rate funds a skilled workforce for crews who maintain systems and respond to emergencies. They fund critical materials such as funding for pipes, chemicals, and safety gear. And they fund inflation pressures such as rising costs in fuel, equipment, and supplies without cutting corners. The benefits of incremental increases are sustainable funding for long-term projects without sudden hikes, addressing our infrastructure on a 100-year replacement cycle, meeting regulatory requirements responsibly, reducing long-term costs through proactive maintenance, and enhancing public health and safety with reliable water and sewer systems. Some of the key projects I'd like to highlight on where our money has been spent is in 2021, we did the West Clackamas Boulevard Sewer Water Project for about $435,000. That was the key project that helped us stop overflowing into the river. We also completed the Barclay Portland Avenue Storm Line in 2022, and that was about $427,000. We're working on the 82nd Drive Pump Station rehabilitation. It's about $750,000, and that should be completed at the end or into the first of 2026. We're working on the Sherwood Forest asbestos pipe replacement. We're in the engineering phase of that, and we estimate that will be a $3 million project. You will have a presentation on that in February. The Evergreen Stormline project, we replaced 393 feet of failed storm line, and that was $150,000. We have projects that were committed in the Oak Lodge Water Services for the next several years that will total about $750,000. We did an emergency sewer line repair at West Fairfield and Barton last year, $75,000. We had a culvert with a joint damage. We just finished our inflow and infiltration reduction program. We used $1.2 million of our ARPA funds plus $476,000 from sanitary sewer and stormwater funds to help with the new manholes, catch basins, which also has mitigated water from getting into our system and alleviated flooding. You just awarded a contract to move on to the next phase of that project in our capital improvement plan, and that is about $280,000. And additionally, in the past 2 years, the city has experienced 9 water main breaks. Those water main breaks total about $50,000. So that just kind of gives you an idea of where the money is being spent. It's not spent on administration or other funds. These are enterprise funds that has to be spent on our infrastructure. So the city's 3% annual rate increase is not simply about covering costs. It's an investment in reliability, safety, and sustainability. Gladstone avoids disruptive emergencies, protects public health, and ensures that future generations inherit a resilient utility system. So that's an overview of why we increase our utility rates. If you have any specific questions on the financials of what we're doing, then like I said, our finance manager can answer those for you.
Jackie, I just want to add one thing. You alluded to the fact that a couple of years we had rates increases in the 10% or so range. That's because just prior to that, as we began to examine what alternatives we had for beginning to maintain infrastructure that had on which we had deferred a lot of maintenance. We kind of put it to the citizens and did some surveys and public open houses and things to talk about this. And one alternative was to kind of continue to go on the path we had been and keep rates low and not do very much, which meant we would be in continued violation of our DEQ memorandum. The other was to perhaps take a big hit for a couple of years to kind of bring some rates up to a level which then could be plateaued and maintained with, as you described, more predictable, steady increases, which is what the public decided was the best approach. The other was to make really some substantial increases to try to get caught up right away rather than spreading this out over a longer future term. And while there were some elected officials who wanted to see things done more quickly, that was not a palatable option for the public. So what we chose sort of was that middle path. And we did have a couple of years when we introduced a fee that had not been there before because we finally developed a master plan for it. That was stormwater. Or we did some fairly high increases for a couple of years. But we kind of thought that going forward after that, we'd stick to no more than about 4%, which was typically the inflation when you consider the cost of materials, the cost of labor, and all the rest. And now we're looking at 3 because we don't want to overburden people anymore. But do I have that timeline?
That is
pretty
accurate. And also I'm going to have Tammy pull up a slide that kind of shows you what our neighboring cities' rates are too, because the other rhetoric is that our costs are astronomical. And I think what you will find in this information is that they're not. And I believe we have Gladstone, Oak Lodge, Westland, Oregon City, and Milwaukee. Our neighbors in Wilsonville and Sandy, they're looking at 32% increases in their utility rates. And it's because it is probably the hardest thing for an elected official to have to vote on. None of you up there want to raise the rates, but you understand the implications if that does not happen. And so what I try to do is to bring factual information to the public so they understand that we're being accountable with those dollars and how those funds are being used.
Are there council members who want to comment or have questions on this presentation? Councilor Levante.
I guess what would happen if we didn't accept these increases?
Well, when we went through our budget process with the budget committee, we included the 3% in there. So if the council decided not to, we would come back with a budget adjustment to remove that revenue from the budget. And then we would have to look at what projects would not get done.
Could that ultimately cost us more in the long run with the water main breaks? And
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're kicking the can down the road. That's what it's called.
Do any councilors have any questions about any of the other items, the right-of-way charges, the planning fees? We got a pretty good explanation on that. I didn't want to cut off any discussion of that if there were questions.
And before you take a vote or anything, I'd like to have Judy just mention about our low-income assistance program that we have, and we're changing the name of that. So I want to let her introduce that.
All right, good. Because not all of us have, or a lot of the public has not yet met Judy Anderson Smith, and she comes to us with some background in government finance work that did involve helping people, residents who need a financial assistance. And I've appreciated that she's brought that background to us and helped us do that. So share a little bit about that with us, please.
Sure, thank you. I'm Judy Anderson Smith, the new finance manager for the city. And when I got here, I was going over the low income application and comparing it to our sister cities and what they do. And we have a very nice program set up, which cuts the rates in half, the base rates in half for the people who need that. And working with some of the residents, I heard a couple of complaints about, I don't want to be known as a low income. So I came up with, Customer Utility Assistance Program, and that's what I'd like to name that program. So it's more welcoming to any of our residents who need that helping hand. And this low-income Customer Utility Assistance Program is for, they fill out an application by June 30th, and 7/1, they are on that program, and it renews every year. And anyone can come at any time for this utility assistance throughout the year. I receive those applications, I take them on one-on-one, and I call and connect with the resident. And I even go as far as asking them if they need other assistance. And I'm trying to put together a list of different opportunities that, you know, if they need clothing, if they need food stamps, SNAP benefits, if, you know, they have questions about their PGE bill and they can't afford that. I'm trying to get that list available so that our customer service is 100% when someone takes that courage and takes that step to say, hey, I need some help.
I serve as on the advisory board for water environmental services, and they have a similar program of assistance. And I know one of the things that they have noticed is that the number of people who actually apply for the program is far fewer than the number that they estimate are actually eligible according to standards they have. So I appreciate that you're willing to take some of those, I don't know, the psychological barriers or the stigma barriers away to perhaps increase the number of people who are both eligible and participating in the program. It's good. It's been published recently, for example, that Oregon has the highest rate of people in the SNAP program, or among the highest rates of people in the SNAP program, the food stamps program nationally. But the reason is not because we have many more poor people here. It's because the state has done exactly what you're saying, making sure that everyone who is eligible gets into that program and gets the benefits they're qualified for from the federal government, to the extent that they're still being provided. Yes, but it's a matter of efficiency and helping people to take that step. It might not be the easiest things to apply for. So I want to express my appreciation to you for that. Councilor Huckabee, you had a comment.
Thank you. Has any of the documentation requirements been changed?
Yes, they have. So I have revamped the application to accommodate our residents and the most people in that have that need.
Mm-hmm.
And I've required the SNAP benefit documentation, the Social Security benefit information. We previously were requiring a lot of personal information that I and the city should not be responsible for.
Yeah.
So I took that away.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I may please ask, and so, you know, not every tenant necessarily gets a water bill because they might pay through their overall rent. Is that addressed in any way to get assistance to folks that maybe aren't receiving a water bill but are still subject to the increases?
We do have a small program with Two Rivers, the mobile home park. I believe that the requirement is that 60% of the people who are housed in that place, that any facility, you know, apartment complex, multi residence, I believe it's 60% of the people that live there, their income has to fall within the guidelines in order to qualify.
And that's a reduction in the overall sort of collective bill for that complex.
for that complex.
And I think what Councilor Labonte was wondering about was, say, an individual lives in an apartment or a rented home where utilities are included in their rent. So they don't actually receive directly a utility bill to that individual, the same as the people in Two Rivers don't receive an individual bill. But Administrator Betts?
I'd be a counselor too.
Yeah.
They would not benefit from this program. We would try to refer them to some other programs to maybe help them with their overall needs for that.
Okay, we have some recommended staff action. Tammy, did we have anyone in the audience who requested to speak on this agenda item?
I have not received any requests.
Okay. Any further questions from counselors? Counselor, you want to make a motion? I'll hear Counselor Huckabee.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 1251, repealing resolution number 1247 and adopting a new master fee schedule.
I second.
All right, it was moved by Counselor Huckabee and seconded by Counselor Corbett. And Administrator Betts, you are right. This is one of the hard things to vote on because we know that no one likes to see costs go up for anything. But by the same token, as others have pointed out, deferring maintenance on things too long and not investing in them properly really makes the overall costs go up. And we saw that during those years when we had to make big increases. And I think slow and steady is a little more palatable to the public.
Before we vote, can I just comment?
Sure,
on one thing?
sure.
And I hope as we do this every 6 months or so, that the next time around, maybe we can look for some places to maybe cut some fees or something from somewhere on that chart. Just throwing it out there to our community members who are, looking for us to try to get some savings out of this. Maybe there's some room somewhere where we can bring some of the costs down.
Very good. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Labonte,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, the motion passes unanimously. The resolution is adopted. We move to item number 12. Consider approval of resolution 1253, creating a temporary ad hoc economic development advisory committee to provide advice to the city council of the city of Gladstone. So, Jackie.
Yeah, I will be happy to introduce this. This is one that our city attorney, Chad Jacobs, assisted John LaGarza and I with. You do have a resolution, as you know, from several meetings now. Our focus has been on economic development, redevelopment on the Portland Avenue area. The next step in that is to create an ad hoc economic development advisory committee. I'm going to have our consultant, John LaGarza, give you a little bit of an overview of what the role of that committee would be.
Hey, thank you, City Manager Betts, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy to be here. John LaGarza, Healthy Sustainable Communities, providing economic development support there, and excited to talk about setting up this economic development ad hoc committee. This is a great opportunity, as one of the City Council's goals was to improve the economic vitality within the community here, and the opportunities here for us to reach out. It's a 9-member, can be up to 9 members here on the ad hoc committee, and really to think about our connection with our business community to be able to help shape some of the future programs that we'll be bringing forward to you around the storefront and business grant programs and tourism. So I look at this as an opportunity to have a board of business owners and partners to be able to help advise on programs that we establish and to help guide those decisions as we move forward with our economic development on Portland Avenue and McLaughlin and other areas within the community here. So happy to be here tonight.
John, if you've done this in cities in the past, do you generally include primarily residents of the community where the committee is, or is this one of those cases where we might seek people who have a business interest here who don't actually live in the city?
Great question, Mayor. So, really, we would like to try and get, business owners. Sometimes we'll get business owners that run a large business that will be in Gladstone but might not live within the community. And we also want residents that are within the business. When we look up the makeup, we have, the automotive industry here in Gladstone. We have healthcare in Gladstone. We have small businesses in Gladstone. So really think about, reaching out to be able to have a wide variety of opportunities for those people to be on the committee. We have hotels in our community too. So that's important to have a net that we can cast out that area. And we will find some that are residents and some that might be running and operating a large business when you're in the community here. So you're the ultimate ones that decide like who would like to be on this committee. But it's a great opportunity what we see for cities to build that connection and relationship and to really have their input and relationship with the city council and with the city around business incentives and programs that will come forward in the future from that standpoint.
Yeah, Mayor, and we're also proposing a couple of planning commissioners, which is also on their work plan to collaborate with economic development. And I really see this becoming a permanent boards committee and commission in the future, but we want to give it a 1-year trial. And I would come back to you at the end of next year with recommendations. But what we'll be proposing is that we would put an application out and we would come back at the January 13th meeting to talk about who's applied, and the council can do the appointments at that time.
So it's a little bit similar to what we did with the Blue Ribbon Committee for the reuse of the library property.
Yeah.
We reach out, take applications, make selections from among them, if there are sufficient numbers to do that, and then make appointments.
And that Blue Ribbon Committee is outstanding. The people that are on that committee, their work will be done in the first part of the spring. There might be 1 or 2 interested in this, but that's exactly right, Mayor.
Right. Questions, comments from councilors? I think we have some recommended action. Would somebody like to make a motion regarding this resolution?
I have one question.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So should you choose to go beyond the ad hoc and go into a second year, or to make it a permanent, when you make that a permanent, would that then come back to the council to appoint rather than the mayor and yourself?
Well, the council has to concur with the mayor on the appointments. What we would recommend, because we would have to do an actual ordinance to make it a permanent committee like we do with our other committees. And at that time, we're not really going to have term expirations on this advisory committee, but the council would have the sole responsibility of appointing who would be on that permanent committee.
Okay, thank you.
A few years ago, we kind of cleaned up our municipal code a little bit, the section that has to do with our advisory boards and committees to set some, the number that there are, the terms and all the rest. And so we would have to add a new section that does not exist currently to create a brand new permanent advisory board. But that would be a possibility. As you say, we would consider in the future after giving this a try, should we choose to do so. All right, would someone like to make a motion regarding this resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Page 12-2, Councilor Garlington.
I move that the city council approve I move that the city council approval of resolution 1253, creating a temporary ad hoc economic development advisory committee to provide advice to the city council of the city of Gladstone.
I second.
All right, moved by Councilor Garlington and seconded by Councilor Corbett. Any additional discussion or comments? All right, Tammy, call the roll, please.
Councilor Corbett,
Yes.
Councilor Garlington,
Yes.
Councilor Huckabee,
Yes.
Councilor Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilor Blau,
Yes.
Councilor Levante.
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Resolution 1253 is adopted. John, thank you very much for being here tonight and for continuing to advise us in your capacity. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Appreciate your time.
All right, the last item on our main agenda is to make appointments to some of our existing advisory committees, some that we are required to have and some that we've chosen over the years to have in our to support us as a council, including audit and budget and those things. So we have several nominations. And we'll talk a little bit about process. Sometimes we vote on them one at a time. Sometimes if we have enough applicants to fill all the vacant positions, we can just do a simple vote to do them all at once. But also there are terms, and we have to assign people to different term lengths. And perhaps some of the people who applied to serve on the committee are in attendance tonight. I'm not sure, but if they are, we'll find out. So we'll begin with appointment to the audit committee.
Okay, we're going to put up on the screen your voting chart. We only have 2 people on our committee right now. We could have up to 5. We don't have to have 5, but we did receive 1 applicant from Marcus Matthews.
All right, is Mr. Matthews here this evening? Welcome. Thank you for applying. He's on his application. We've what's the term? Redacted some personal information, but he is an owner of a small business selling surplus industrial parts on eBay. So he has budgeting and financial planning experience from his personal business. So we have the 1 applicant. Is there is there a motion to approve Marcus Matthews?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, it's been moved by Councillor Huckabee and seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Since we only have 1, I think we can just do it on a roll call vote. This is for a term ending, currently ending 12/31/25. So the
Give
new
him
term
the longest term possible.
Yeah.
2028.
2028. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the next 3-year cycle of this one. So let's go ahead, Tammy, if you want to call the roll.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes, Marcus, I also noticed that you are a neighbor of mine. So nice to meet you, neighbor.
Counselor Labonte.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Counselor Labonte.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor Milch.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Matthews, you are appointed. Thank you. Next is the Budget Committee.
Yes, so Budget Committee, we are on a biennium budget, so they will not meet again until probably 2027. So we do have 3 terms. You've got 3 applicants, so I would suggest that you appoint first and then you could divvy up the term expirations. This is the only committee tonight that has a staggered term.
Okay, and let me ask you one question. I know that with the passage of the bond related to our adjoining Clackamas Fire District, we're looking at amending our current budget to change the amount of collected tax revenue. That's something that will come to consideration for us early next year. Do you anticipate involving the Budget Committee in that action?
It depends on if it goes over a certain percentage of the budget that is being changed, but typically it only comes to the city council to do a budget adjustment. We could certainly invite them to that to participate.
Okay, I just wanted to hopefully give them something to do in the intervening time, but I understand. Yeah, with the biennial budget, there's a process that takes place over a short period of time, and then there's a pause until the next time. So, okay, we have 3 applicants. Are council members supportive of the idea of approving all 3 and then deciding on terms? Okay, so can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Counselor Huckabee and seconded by Counselor Corbett, I believe. And, or were you pointing to Counselor Garlington? All right, so let's vote on, first of all, admitting all three. Joshua Smith is a returning member of the Budget Committee. Marcus Matthews, we've already met. Michelle Hellstrom is the third applicant and is willing to serve on both. She's also applied for another committee. And Michelle, let me see a little bit of information. She is a police administrative specialist with the Tigard Police Department. And again, anything in government, you know something about budget, you just have to. So that's a very appropriate qualification. All right, let's take a vote on that.
Are you wanting to do by terms, or how are you wanting to?
We'll just take a vote to accept all three, and then we'll kind of have a discussion on the terms.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes.
Counselor Levante,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
And Mayor Milch?
Mayor Milch.
Yes, motion passes. So my recommendation would be that since Joshua Smith has experience on the Budget Committee and only got to serve for a couple of years, that we give him the longest remaining term. Do other people agree with that? I see heads nodding.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then we have two others, and the terms, one term expires in 27 and one term expires in 28. Is Michelle Hellstrom here tonight? I didn't ask that.
She may be online.
Oh, okay. I just wondered if you had any preference, a short term, a long term? Give it a yes.
Maybe to match the one with auditor, is that not possible?
Okay, the one for the audit, well, actually, the one for the audit committee would be new and it would be ending in
28.
28. Okay, so to match that, all right. So how about we appoint Marcus Matthews to the term ending in 28, Michelle Hellstrom to the term ending in 27. And we have the option, and again, anybody has the option to reapply and extend their time on the committee. You have your light on? Do you have a comment or a question?
No, I was just going to say, I agree with what you just proposed.
Okay. All right. So is there consensus on that?
I have that same thing written. So.
Okay, very good. All right. I think that's what we're going to do then.
Do we need to make a motion on that?
I think we got it on the list. I think
I
that's,
think I've got.
yeah.
I think
Okay.
we're good.
So the next one is for the Community Center Advisory Board. We have a vacancy. We had a member who recently needed to resign from that committee. And so we have an applicant and Administrator Betts, any input or comment on that?
She came and spoke a couple meetings ago at a council meeting, and she has a real interest in the youth in our community, and with what we're trying to do at the community center, I think she would be a great fit for the multi-generational programming.
And once again, this is someone who lives outside the city of Gladstone, but as I recall, had a student at the high school. At least she did when she spoke to us the first time. So she has a connection, recently joined the GHS Booster Club. So I think it sounds like she still has a student at the school and a connection to the youth in the community.
Yes, and this committee is the only committee out of all of them that does not require a Gladstone resident, as long as they have a connection that you just mentioned.
Very good.
And she is available online.
Okay.
And this seat is to the end of next year. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. So it's a 1-year term, but again, she would have the opportunity to apply to renew that. All right. We only have one applicant, one position, so we can do this with a motion.
I make a motion that we appoint Kiva and Tilla to the 1-year term on the Community Center Advisory Board.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved by Counselor Garlington and seconded by Counselor Huckabee. Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes.
Counselor Levante,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, so Kiva Antilla is appointed to fill out the remainder of that term. We move to the next one, Park and Recreation Advisory Board.
Yeah, so for this one, you have one vacancy and 3 applicants. So we will do a vote on the screen here. I would suggest, Mayor, that you just call on counselors to say who they pick.
Okay, we'll do it with the regular little spreadsheet that we usually use for this. Let me ask if any of the applicants are in attendance tonight. Kathleen Hollingsworth,
She's online.
she's online. Manuel Pacheco, and he is the one who chairs the community.
The Gladstone Community Gardens.
Okay, and Tori, I believe it's Snopel. And she is advised to or applied for a couple different boards. So you all have the applications in front of you. All right. So we'll go ahead and so cast a vote for one of these 3 or none. I mean, it's your choice, but at most one. And Tammy, call the roll, please.
Counselor Garlington.
I'm going to vote for Kathleen Hollingsworth.
Counselor Corbett.
It's a tough one, but I too am going to vote for Kathleen Hollingsworth.
Counselor Labonte.
Of which this is my least favorite part of being a city councilor, because you have so many great applicants, and it can be hard to figure it out exactly. But I too agree with Kathleen.
Counselor Blau.
Pacheco.
Counselor Mitchell.
Pacheco.
Counselor Huckabee.
Pacheco.
Mayor Milch.
Manuel Pacheco. I remember him coming to a Park and Recreation Board and talking about the community center garden and or the community garden program. So I believe he got 4 votes and is appointed. And I encourage, I concur with Councilor Labonte. It's really hard when we have a small number of openings and great people who step up from the community to show an interest. And I hope that they will find another opportunity in the city to be involved. I know we're forming a new ad hoc advisory committee very soon. It's another opportunity. Okay, and we have a vacancy. Two vacancies on the planning commission, including one who is reapplying. Okay.
That is correct. Commissioner Langston has decided to take a break, so he has not reapplied. You do have 3 applications. One of them is a current commissioner, and so you also will be voting on 2.
Okay, we have 3 applicants. Councilor Jennifer Bolvid is a current planning commission member. Tori Snopel, who applied for the Park and Recreation Board, also is applying for planning commission. And Tom Busick is the 3rd applicant. Is Mr. Busick in the audience tonight? Okay.
I do not see him online.
Okay, well, once again, we have 2, so you get 2 votes for, at most 2 votes for these positions. Is everyone ready? Okay.
Counselor Blau.
Volbeda and Snopel.
Counselor Mitchell.
Busick and Snopel.
Counselor Labonte.
Vote, but definitely. And I will need to certainly vote for 2.
You don't need to vote for 2. You can vote for just 1 if you prefer.
I feel very, very comfortable with Jennifer in there. And that will be my 1 vote tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Huckabee.
I will be doing Jennifer Volbeda and Tori Snopel.
Counselor Corbett.
Tom Busick and Jennifer Volbeda.
Counselor Garlington,
Tom Busick and Jennifer Volbeda.
Mayor Milch.
Jennifer Bolveda, and I guess it's up to me to cast the deciding vote. I think Mr. Busick, his experience as a builder would be helpful to have on there. So I will vote for Mr. Busick. So we have 4 votes for Tom Busick and 6 votes for Jennifer Volbeda. So those 2 are appointed. Ms. Volbeda will continue the term that she is currently in. She's taken a leave of absence for maternity, or what's the proper term for that these days?
Maternity leave.
It is still okay. I just wanted to be sure. Parental leave, and the second, both terms expire. Okay, both terms, the same expiration. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, very good. And finally, we have applicant for the Traffic Safety Advisory Board, 1 vacant term, and 1 applicant. So that's an easy one. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved that Michelle Hellstrom be appointed to the Traffic Safety Advisory Board. Any discussion? Moved by Councilor Labonte and seconded by Councilor Huckabee.
If I may ask
Yes.
for some clarification here, the last name is very familiar. Is there another member of that household on that board, or am I wrong about that?
Traffic safety.
We had Hellstrom as an applicant earlier.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that there.
Oh, I think you're.
I apologize.
Yes.
Sorry, John.
John was here
I
earlier. Yeah, they're going to rhyme. We need to be very enunciate the consonants very clearly when
I
we
apologize. Thank you.
There's a lot of stroms.
Okay. Tammy, call the roll, please.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Corbett,
Yes.
Counselor Labonte,
Yes.
Counselor Blau,
Yes.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, Ms. Hellstrom is appointed. Thank you all. Thank you to citizens who step up and volunteer. And apologies to anybody who applied and didn't get appointed. But again, we will have other opportunities and other ways to serve. It's a community that relies on volunteers for many of the things that we do, and we're grateful to those who step up and do that service. So that concludes our regular agenda. Do we have any business carried forward?
I am finished. Thank you.
Has anyone requested to speak on business from the audience tonight?
I did not receive any requests.
Okay, no cards and no advance requests. So we turn to business from the council. But we will begin that with recognition of City Councilor Christy Corbett. This is your last meeting for us. And talk about stepping up and volunteering. You came to us and stepped up and put your name in the hat for appointment to a seat. It's sort of a family tradition of yours to serve this city, and I want to express personally my gratitude to you. This is a time when it is not easy to be an elected official. There are a lot of conflict that goes on, a lot of conflict between individuals, decisions that are difficult to make. And so for someone to agree to take that on and to serve us at a time of need, we're most appreciative.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and we have a fantastic city council, fantastic mayor, and honestly, the best city administrator. So you guys made it really easy to step in, and I've appreciated the experience, and it's been lovely working with you all and the residents of Gladstone.
We want you to have something to commemorate your service here. So there is a plaque there for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So your last official act will be to respond to our business from the council. So I'm sure you're prepared for that, but we will start at the other end and work our way down. Give you a little time. Okay, so go ahead, Councilor Huckabee. We'll start at your end.
Thank you. I don't have much tonight. I just wanted to thank Michelle Prusso and the team over at the Community Center, our Public Works team, and Mayor Milch for hosting such a great tree lighting event. And the gathering looked much larger than I remember from last year, so that's exciting. And we have more decorations on the Community Center building, and it looks great, like a gingerbread house. And just everybody have a safe and enjoyable holiday coming up, whatever that looks like for you. And please be safe on New Year's Eve and do not drink and drive.
Councilor Mitchell.
I just want to mention that there is a vacancy on the school board, and the deadline to submit that application is December 12th by 5 p.m. Applications are available on the Gladstone School website. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Blau.
Yes, I also went to the tree lighting and it was amazing. Michelle Prusso and the team over there are just so impressive, I have to say, just hands down. I also attended the Oregon City Business Alliances. They have a once a month presentation and they were talking about healthcare in the county. And I learned that almost half of our residents went to Willamette Falls last year for 4,900. So roughly, and that includes not just the hospital, but all of the specialties that are part of Willamette Falls. So I thought that was a really interesting statistic.
Almost 5,000 people out of the city of Gladstone alone have visited that facility. So that says something about the either the coverage of the insurance system or whatever else is involved. But
proximity.
Proximity.
Yeah. You know. Future vision, we are currently working on our outreach plan for community engagement, and I will probably have more about that after the end of this year, so next year. And then Letic is working on the bylaws and possibly a name change. And that was it.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Levante.
Thank you. And first, I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday, of course. I don't want to take up too much time. And I'll try to be pretty quick, but I got a chance to, every once in a while, I like to take out the old Gladstone comprehensive plan and kind of dust it off and read through. And I'm always, and then some interesting themes in there. But a big theme is always that I find through there is the emphasis on views in Gladstone, the views. And I want to give a shout out to the FogNap group with the nature park. I'm sure many of you had an opportunity to go through the FogNap site at the nature park and to observe that new trail. And although it's not handicapped accessible technically, it does make it a heck of a lot easier for folks. I want to give the engineering team a lot of credit. The path has it's more than just a path. It's got some nice cadence to it. It's a meandering trail. It has a sense of adventure in there. And especially this time of year, if you get there, right, maybe as the sun goes down, because you can't be there more than an hour after dark. But the views amongst that trail out there, just you can stand there and with or without the path, I suppose. And you can just, people have been there for thousands of years looking over that same hill. And geologically, you can think of the massive changes that have happened through there, whether it be the Missoula floods or and of course being an anticline crest, in the fault line. It's just a dynamic, interesting place. So I shout out to the FogNap group and to, I think really, in a sense, like as visionaries, to have the idea, to have a vision for what they want to happen in that area, to go out and get funding for it, to come to the city council, to work together, to fix that park up. A huge shout out to all the folks at FogNap. And I want to specifically to Nancy Einsted. Her work with this is great and her work across the city. as we do ramp up our public spaces, I do want to just mention some concerns that are worth bringing up about, that park in particular. I have spoken to people who actually refuse to go through there because of what they've witnessed with some people that are having some mental issues, perhaps. And I know that we've got perhaps some camps and stuff there. So just as the bathrooms go in, as we keep doing these improvements, I know that police department is on it. I know the citizens are looking out, but just to be mindful of, some of those impacts as we start getting more attention to those parks. And other than that, this has been great. This is the end of my first year with the city council, and I appreciate all of you and the city staff, and just it's been a great run so far. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you for doing double duty in this community as an elected official. Councillor Corbett.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve Gladstone, and just want to wish everybody, I don't have any events to speak of, but I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday and be safe, enjoy the new year, and positive tidings for the new year. There you go.
Councillor Garland.
Well, thank you for serving. It's been lovely sitting next to you. Councillor Labonte, I can assure you there are no tents or no camps in that park, because those dark 30 dog walkers are hot on it every morning. And I get emails right away that we had to call, there was somebody in the park this morning, and it honestly does not happen very often, but I appreciate the citizens that watch out for our city. That's just huge. Our police department cannot be everywhere all the time. And it takes people's eyes and their voices to make sure that the rest of us are safe. And I can assure you that does happen. So I did go on that PGE tour. It is like being in a movie. It is incredible. And I see that we have PGE coming to us. And I would say for any counselor that has not seen that facility, call and see if you can get in before they come, because it is fascinating. It's just beyond anything that you see. And it's not just the room that shows how much power is going to what grid, or how they're moving the grids around to make sure that all of these areas have power. But then you get upstairs and they talk about how they trade as a commodity, and the people that do that. The whole thing is just, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it, because it's also, I would consider it one of the better privileges that we've had, to be able to be invited to a space like that, because it really is fascinating. On the 4th of December, I listened to Mayor Beach Pace from Hillsborough through the League of Oregon Cities Women's Caucus, one of our We Talks. And wow, is she fascinating. She has so much more to her than I ever thought. And talking about how they've been proactive with ICE in their community, and working with their police department and their community engagement teams on, advising the citizens in their community on what can be done, what can't be done, where the law comes in, and where the line stops for the community, and what the community's doing. And she's just a fascinating person. She also said something really interesting that I'd never heard anybody put it this way. And she said, there's only 2 mayors in the state of Oregon that get paid. The rest of us either have a job or we're retired. And so just that simple. So you have to thank the mayors who I know that our mayor goes to far more meetings than I go to. And to do that on your own free time, I don't think people realize that is an unpaid, but very, it's a job that each of them chooses to do out of the goodness of their own heart. So thank you for one more year of service, Mayor Milch. we did the C4 holiday gathering, and I said, you know, I was very excited that the alternates got invited. So that was kind of fun to go to. And unfortunately, I missed the tree lighting because we were sick this weekend. So with that being said, everyone have a safe and very happy holiday. And again, do not drink and drive, people. It's just not worth it. Call somebody or sleep in your car.
No reason to do it in this day and age.
I have, we talked a little bit earlier about, we had our economic advising consultant here, and tomorrow morning there is scheduled, I don't know, weather permitting, I think, there is another ribbon cutting that I've been invited to for a new business in relocating to downtown Gladstone on Portland Avenue. It's a financial services related business, insurance, not a restaurant, but it's still one more step further toward people deciding that that is a place to locate, to be more in touch with the community. And so, you know, I hope, I look forward to taking those big scissors and saying, welcome to the neighborhood. The Metropolitan Mayors Consortium is a group of mayors from the metro region, Washington County, Clackamas County, Multnomah County. We talk about a lot of issues. We have a meeting coming up on Thursday talking about cooperation on procurement of things for the cities. When we have a big presentation about our utilities, part of what we have to do to get streets paved, to get pipes filled, to get repairs on things is to put things out for bids. And sometimes there are things that cities have in common where if we cooperate on the procurement, maybe it's even more cost effective. And so we're going to have a discussion of that in addition to many of the other things that we're concerned about, notably the issue you referred to, ICE enforcement in the area. That affects cities a lot, and some cities in particular more than others. But it seems to be spreading, and we want to make sure that those limitations, those boundaries are well understood by people in leadership. Next Monday, we have the ribbon cutting for the trail, the new paved loop trail at the Gladstone Nature Park. Councilor Bondi, you stole a few of the comments I was going to make there, but I'm glad you're thinking in the same direction. That I had the opportunity to take my grandson, and he took his little plastic scooter to go up on that trail. And it is wonderful. We describe it as a loop, and you think of that as a circle, but it's not circle. That meandering of the path, the clearing of the brush that's around it, the interpretive signs about some of the vegetation that's there, it makes for a wonderful experience. So I hope the weather would be great next week, that we'll have a turnout. Former Governor Kate Brown is planning to attend because we see this as something that ties in very strongly with other tourism and natural development that goes on in this immediate region. So that's exciting. I was grateful to be at the tree lighting event. That's always good. And as you all have said, Michelle Prusso and her staff have a way of looking at things that we do on a regular basis and thinking, how can I make this better for the next time we do it? And it does get better and the attendance gets bigger. And so despite a, chilly evening, but it was still a great event. So I have enjoyed this last year of serving with all of you and look forward to, a good 2026. I appreciate staff. Chad Jacobs, I appreciate your work. You've done some extra work for us this year. I know it can be time consuming and difficult sometimes to advise the city on all the various things that come up, but we're grateful to your service. And so that we hope that, and Chief Schmerber here tonight as well, we as a council, we get the exposure, we sometimes have to make these hard decisions, but implementing all those things comes to staff that we hire and that we appreciate. And so a word of appreciation to all of you and happy holidays to everyone in the city. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilor Huckabee and in her last official act, seconded by Councilor Corbett. Her last official act will be to vote on the motion. Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Councilor Huckabee.
Yes.
Councilor Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilor Blau.
Yes.
Councilor Labonte.
Yes.
Councilor Corbett.
Yes.
Councilor Garlington.
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, we are adjourned at 8:43 p.m.